The day began like any other for the crew of the Orion, a Coast Guard vessel patrolling about 3 miles off the coast. It was a routine operation, one they had done many times before. As members of the Coast Guard, their mission was clear: ensure safety at sea and respond to any anomalies. For these sailors, the ocean was a constant, unpredictable force, an environment where danger could strike at any moment, and it was their responsibility to be prepared for anything. Their experience had taught them to respect the sea, as it often held secrets darker than anyone could imagine. What they didn't anticipate, however, was the mystery that would soon unfold before them. Everything seemed normal until one of the radar operators noticed a strange anomaly on their screens, an odd sound picked up by the sonar. At first, it barely registered on their monitors, and they assumed it was a technical glitch. But as they were in the area, they decided to investigate. As the Orion moved toward the source, one of the Coast Guard's men spotted something unusual, a bright blue object on the horizon. The crew was intrigued and knew they had to check it out. As they approached, the object became clearer, though its strange metallic blue surface was hard to distinguish from the water, almost camouflaged. It seemed designed for covert operations, which only added to the crew's growing unease. The radar had trouble detecting it consistently, and when they attempted to make contact via radio, they received no response. It felt lifeless, like it didn't exist at all. The closer they got, the more disturbing the object became. It appeared larger than initially thought, with an elongated shape and smooth surface that didn't resemble any known ship design. With no markings, lights, or visible movement, the crew couldn't rule out the possibility of a hostile encounter. The captain ordered a closer inspection. They attempted to secure the object using a line and hook, but when they applied force, the ship began to slide toward it instead. It was far more massive than they had anticipated. The captain then decided to send 2 men, Brendan and John, to board the object and investigate. Equipped with flashlights, tools, and radios, they cautiously climbed onto the surface. Upon reaching the top, they discovered a hatch. The lid creaked as they opened it, revealing a narrow passage leading inside. What they found was even stranger than expected: an abandoned submarine. Inside, the atmosphere was cold and oppressive, with rust coating the walls and a metallic smell lingering in the air. Despite the exterior of the ship appearing intact, it was clear the submarine had been neglected for a long time. As they moved deeper into the vessel, they found an outdated control console with analog buttons and tangled wires. There was evidence that people had been there before, but there were no bodies, no signs of life. As they examined the eerie surroundings, a sharp noise suddenly echoed from above, and the hatch slammed shut. They tried to contact the Orion, but their radios failed. The sub then began vibrating, and before they knew it, it started sinking slowly beneath the surface, trapping Brendan and John inside. The crew on the Orion lost all radar contact with the submarine, helplessly watching as their comrades vanished into the depths. Brendan and John remained calm, despite the growing pressure around them. They noticed the submarine was sinking, but it wasn't in the typical way. There were no leaks or creaking noises, which provided them with some relief, though the overall situation remained unnerving. As they continued to explore, they discovered a hidden metal door at the end of a corridor. Inside, they found military-grade equipment, much older than it should have been. But the most disturbing discovery was a large sealed box containing packages wrapped in black plastic. Upon closer inspection, the contents were revealed to be large quantities of drugs. This revelation shifted their understanding of the submarine's purpose. It was part of a larger criminal operation. As the submarine vibrated and ascended, they realized that the thick air and vibrations weren't just from the sinking. They were the signs of the sub rising to the surface. When the submarine finally emerged, Brendan and John were confronted by a massive offshore platform, resembling an oil rig. Stranded in the middle of the ocean, with no land in sight, they were overwhelmed by the sheer size of the structure. They quickly hid behind the submarine's console, watching as workers from the rig unloaded crates from the sub. The cargo was not just supplies, but tons of illegal drugs and cash, all tied to a vast criminal network. The two Coast Guardsmen were terrified, knowing that one wrong move could expose their position. They were outnumbered and aware that, as military personnel, they wouldn't be let go. They would be killed if discovered. The only hope they had was to remain hidden and wait for the right moment to escape or gather crucial information to take down the operation. The urgency of the situation grew as they continued to watch the smugglers' activities. With little choice, Brendan and John decided to cautiously leave their hiding spot and gather more information. They realized they were on a repurposed oil rig being used for smuggling operations. They found a way to communicate with the Orion, providing their location and the details of the operation. Soon, the Coast Guard ship arrived and the smugglers panicked. The situation quickly escalated, with the smugglers threatening to use weapons. Ultimately, the Coast Guard was able to apprehend the criminals, thanks to the bravery of Brendan and John, who had risked everything to expose the operation. The two men were hailed as heroes upon their return, and their efforts dismantled a major drug trafficking operation, proving that even in the face of overwhelming fear, courage and teamwork can make all the difference.